Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Minecraft survival world. As you can see, I had to stay up the last night, and as evidence of so, I am bearing the scars of a couple of battles, mainly a couple of skeletons that had found refuge in the pond, or rather this little lagoon, I guess you could call it, right there next to our house. But as the arrows dissipate, we will find that we are in a really good position for a lot of different things. Primarily, we've got ourselves 33 levels, and you may notice that I got a little bit antsy and already made a single enchant on a iron pickaxe. And you'll remember from a few episodes ago that we had a silk touch enchant available on our pickaxe. And so that's what I went ahead and did, because as awesome as it is to have Silk Touch, I was not willing to sacrifice my first diamond pick to that, as I think that having Fortune on a diamond pickaxe is a lot more beneficial early game. So we will certainly have that. But with that Silk Touch pickaxe, I was able to do a couple of different things. Primarily, I was able to go down and collect up the different diamond ore that we have found through our caving expeditions up until this point, and you will see that as we make our way over to the diamonds chest that we have found or been able to collect due to the few that have been unfortunately destroyed from various different creeper explosions. But we've found 11 deep slate diamond ore and 2 standard diamond ore in addition to the one that did happen to drop from the creeper explosion. So I'm hoping we can get a decent amount out of these ores once we finally have a fortune pick. But the other thing that I did with this Silk Touch pickaxe is I went ahead and started mining up some of these amethyst clusters, both of the fully grown variety as well as some of the small, medium, and large buds. And the biggest reason that I did that was because I've made that little transformation right here that I discussed after the time lapse in last week's episode. And I really like the way that this came out. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't extend this build too much farther back in the other directions because it started to conflict with the walls, but I do feel like it works very well, and I think that this will serve as a nice little axolotl sanctuary. So let's go ahead and grab our 2 water buckets and start transporting some of those guys over into this little sanctuary that we've got for them. Now, we've discovered a lot of axolotls up until this point, so let's see if we can get a couple of them bottled up so we can transport them inside. I think I got a blue one and a pink one on that particular version. Hopefully they're not both of the same type. Yes, we've got a blue one, we've got a pink one. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these buckets of tropical fish, and I'm going to feed them to these axolotls, because I'm hoping that we can get that brown axolotl. It looks like we got a pink one instead, which is not what I was hoping to see, but it's okay. We'll have to trek back out to a warm ocean so we can get some more, because either we hold out for one of the blue axolotls that we can find, or we hopefully get at least the base colors that are currently available. So let's continue transporting some of these other guys down here into our new little sanctuary for them. All right, well, there they are. They'll just kind of swim around and have a grand old time down here in this little sanctuary that we've set up for them. And yeah, I will double back and get some more tropical fish so we can continue to try and breed these guys up to get that brown and other variants there. And I might need to fill up some more water. I was hoping to not have to fill it all the way up here, but I think that might be the best course of action at this point. Hopefully that does a little bit better for them so they're not dropping down as frequently, but I may even have to put in a little bit of some glass in order to kind of help keep them in check. So just preemptively, I am going to go ahead and build up around the outside edge here. And then I'm going to place a little trap door here so I can get in and out of this little area. I think I'll use spruce for that. And that really should be all the access I need for breeding and such. So if I need to get back out of there for whatever reason, I'll find a way to do so, or place a temporary block right there so I can move out of there. But for now, that'll keep them a lot more safe and happy in the little enclosure here. So things are coming along quite nicely in that regard. And I might want to wall this off so I don't accidentally stumble in, but that's an issue for a later time. Okay, we are into the next day, so let's go ahead and do the next little item on my list. And I actually ran away from the area I needed to be, because I think what I should do is make a book to burn an enchant on if I don't find something I like. I love how that's just a generic recipe and you can make books literally out of anything. Also, I forgot to mention this, but we did raid another desert temple that was very close to where we're at, actually, and got an efficiency 4 book, which is really, really nice because that's going to allow us to get an efficiency 5 pick, given that most of the enchantments, I actually think that maybe the only or the highest efficiency enchantment you can get out of an enchanting table is efficiency 4. So we can now bolster that up even higher. And sure, let's take a little bit extra, because the diamond pick is only going to give us efficiency 4. And while I could take the gamble on that initially, if I just get stuck with an efficiency 4 pick, then I'm kind of out of the levels, because it's far better for us to focus on getting the fortune enchantment. So I'm going to burn a level on a level 1 enchant to see if we can get a better roll here, and we didn't, so we'll go ahead and grind that away, and then we will rinse that same item. Yeah, nothing here. If there was a Fortune 3 enchant there, then I would have taken that as well, but unfortunately not the case. On Breaking 3, that's really good, but again, I don't want to make that enchantment on the odd chance that I can't get it, or I don't get lucky and get the fortune on it as well. So let's go ahead and burn another enchant here on this book. Again, nothing that I'm super interested in. And we're back to the efficiency 4. I just really can't risk that, is what it comes down to. So let's disenchant this book and see what pops out of the table with this. Again, nothing super great. And so we might just want to rinse and repeat this until we find that fortune enchantment. There it is, fortune 3. So we only need to grab an additional level, which is really nice. And there's a couple of ways that I can go about doing that, especially where I'm already close to that 30th level. Alright, let's not dawdle any longer. Let's throw our lapis in the enchanting table and come away with our fortune 3 pick. Unfortunately, it didn't come along with unbreaking or efficiency or anything else, but that's all well and good because fortune is the bare minimum of what we wanted to see from this pickaxe. So we will go ahead and harvest up our diamonds after we sleep the night away. Alright. We'll go ahead and see how many diamonds we end up getting out of these 11 blocks. Hopefully it's a decent amount, especially because I'd like to be able to conserve a lot of these deep slate diamond ores going forward. And yeah, we actually got quite a bit out of there. 33, and with the one additional diamond that's downstairs, that's 34. So that's actually quite a nice number, and to the point where we can start filling out the rest of our gear with some diamond stuff, which is really nice because we're still under that no villager clause. And so knowing that, we're going to have to be a bit more scrupulous with how we go through things. Now, the other thing that I wanted to start today is collecting up some sheep. And I would like to be able to farm up all of the different wool colors in a fairly succinct manner. And so we're going to just kind of start by luring in as many sheep from the neighboring area as we can and placing them in the different holding cells. Now, this is actually really good because black dye is one of the more stressful dyes to come after, though I don't think that it's the most one. As a matter of fact, if I've done so correctly, there will have been a community poll asking which color you think is the worst to try and track down. And black is definitely up there, but for me, I really think that award goes to brown because you can only get that through cocoa beans, and that's not exactly a fun process to voluntarily track down. But I can understand where black is tedious as well, as you either have to have a highly efficient wither rose farm or you have to put up a squid farm, which is also not a whole lot of fun to establish. Let's see if we can get this sheep to go down into this pen that I have labeled according to its color. Come on. There we are. So the black sheep is now in the black pen. That's one less dye that I need to track down. And so I'm really hoping that I can, just through exploring some of the neighboring areas, find a brown sheep, because I don't want to run all over the place to find a jungle biome so I can track down some cocoa beans. Okay, so I have spent a couple of in-game days getting all of these sheep in here, with the exception of a few. I have not collected a light gray sheep. I have not collected a brown sheep, or a sheep to then color brown, mainly because that dye is just a bear to get a hold of. And then the only other one that I'm missing is a gray sheep. And I think I know where we can find one, because I believe while I was searching around for what I was hoping would be a brown sheep, ended up finding a gray sheep atop that mountain on the way back from the deserted temple, or the desert temple, not deserted. So I think what we'll want to do now is grab a lead from either our horse or our donkey and head out that way so we can at least retrieve one additional sheep today. Yep, just like I thought, there was a gray sheep atop this mountain. And while I'm thinking about it, getting your hands on light gray dye isn't actually that hard to do. So I might as well just grab an additional sheep and place them in that chamber as well, meaning that the only one that I'll have to track down at that point will be the brown sheep or the brown dye. Hopefully the former rather than the latter. Okay, so that is every sheep in a pen minus the brown one. I'm gonna have to do some grinding off camera to see if I can figure out, or luckily find one of those. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and start dyeing some of these sheep so they can be the correct color. Starting with the one that we just acquired, mainly because the dye was very close and easy to get our hands on, that being the light gray. So let's go ahead and pop that color on you. And the next one that we're after is orange, which you can get that from a flower, but if you don't have the flower on hand, I believe you can just take a red dye. I'm actually going to grab 2 of these because I will need a second one. We'll grab a cornflower as well, just because that's going to be good enough. Might as well, actually, I think I should grab 3 of these. So again, if I'm not mistaken, for an orange dye, we can take this poppy. We'll just grind both of them down for some red dye. We can take this dandelion, and then we can combine 1 of each dye to get orange. Yes, we can. Excellent. So let's walk up and boom, we've got an orange sheep now. The next is a cyan, which I don't quite have all the resources for. A magenta, I might have a leftover magenta dye over here in one of my chests. And I do. So boom, there's a magenta. Purple we can make by mixing red and blue. So let's get 1 blue dye there, and here is a purple. That's right next door to the magenta one. Next up we have a blue. I guess there's a light blue, which you can make as well. You've just got to mix your blue dye with some white dye, and we can make plenty of that due to the resources that we have. So it's 1 over from that last one we did. So that's the light blue one. Here is the blue one. And then yellow, I know I've got that right here. So we need a red dye for, of course, the red sheep, which is right here next to the gray one. So another poppy will do quite nicely for that. And then right next to that sheep, there is the pink sheep, which I don't have the pink sheep or pink flowers in the nearby area, but I had collected one earlier. And so before I just turn that into dye, I will go ahead and grab a little bit of bone meal. And we'll just hit that with it real quick so we can conserve the 2 high flower there, and then we can get the pink dye that's needed. You can also mix a red dye with a white dye to get pink, but the peony is the much better and more efficient way of getting this particular dye color. And then since we need the light blue dye, and I don't feel like trekking all the way back out to the swamp we were at, we'll go ahead and grab a piece of bone meal. We'll mix that in with some blue dye after we've turned it into after we've turned the bone meal into white dye, and that'll get us some nice light blue. And then the only 2 that I'm really missing right now, well, I'm missing cyan, lime, and green, and I can actually make all 3 of those provided that I have some cactus on hand. And I don't think that I do, but again, fortunately, we know exactly where we can find some. Now, we definitely needed the cactus in order to make the green dye, because that's the only way that you can get this, but cactus is fairly easy to farm, all things considered. It's tedious, no doubt, but that gives us the green dye that we need. Now, the other 2 things that we'll use this green dye for is the cyan dye, which we'll need to grab some more blue dye in order to make that. And then it's also an ingredient, or you can make some lime dye with it. And that's not the only way to get lime dye. You can also get lime from sea pickles by smelting those down. But again, that's a fairly niche resource that can be a little tedious to track down. So let's see here, that's cyan. So we'll get lime and green colored in. All right, here we are, there's lime. There is green. And then let's just grab another one of these cornflowers since it's right here next to us. Take this other spot of green dye and make ourselves some cyan. So at this point, the only colored sheep that we are missing is the brown one. And hopefully I get lucky enough to find one naturally, because tracking him down is not going to be a fun project if that's what I am left to do. But that is going to do it for today's episode. If you enjoyed, make sure that you leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe for that daily variety content. And I hope to see you in the next episode or video. Take care, everyone, and have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Bye-bye.